Imagine a homesteader, years ago, working hard under the sun. They're building their dream, their very home, piece by piece. You might think every choice was about pure survival and simple logic. Yet, watch them as they kneel, gently placing a small mint plant right against the wood of their new house. A plant known to go wild, to spread like fire. This wasn't a mistake, it was a deeply wise, almost sacred act, hiding a big secret. Hello friends, and welcome. Thank you for being here with me today. Let's just take a moment to breathe and be present. That image, of the homesteader planting that mint, it really sticks with you, doesn't it? Because say on the one hand, it feels so wise. But on the other, we know the truth about mint. It takes over. It spreads everywhere. Even today, you can go online and find gardeners sharing horror stories. They'll tell you it was their single biggest mistake, how it rampaged through their yard and they've spent years trying to get rid of it. So that brings us back to the question. Why would someone so practical, whose life depended on making smart choices, plant this troublemaker right next to their foundation? Well, the answer is so much deeper than just keeping a few bugs away. They weren't just planting a pest repellent. They were creating a kind of spiritual shield. A living, breathing barrier that protected their home in ways we've mostly forgotten. So today, let's rediscover that wisdom together. To understand their thinking, you have to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you've just spent months, maybe even years, building your home with your own two hands. Every log, every nail, is a piece of your sweat and your hope. This simple structure isn't just a house. It's your entire world. It's the only thing standing between your family and a harsh, unforgiving wilderness. Now, imagine something trying to destroy it. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. These were the silent destroyers. The ones that worked in the dark, or right under your nose. The carpenter bee, for example, isn't just a buzzing annoyance. It's a tiny drill. It carves perfect, round tunnels into the wood of your home. When bee becomes 2, then 10. Over time, those tunnels weaken the beams. They let in moisture. And moisture leads to rot. Your shelter, your safe place, begins to crumble from the inside out. And it wasn't just the bees. It was the endless march of ants, finding their way into your food stores. The mice, chewing through sacks of grain you needed to survive the winter. For the homesteader, these weren't just pests. They were a direct threat to their survival. But you couldn't just run to the store for a can of bug spray. You had to rely on what you had. On the land itself. And that's where the mint came in. They believed that the plant's powerful, almost overwhelmingly strong scent was a weapon. That sharp, clean smell that we enjoy in our tea or a stick of gum? To these tiny creatures, it was a warning. A big, invisibly keep out sign. The idea was simple, but brilliant. By planting a thick border of mint right up against the foundation, they were creating a living, breathing pest repellent. The oils from the mint would seep into the air and the soil, creating a barrier that carpenter bees, ants, and rodents just didn't want to cross. It was a line in the sand. So, while we might see a gardener's nightmare, they saw a shield. They saw a quiet, constant guardian standing watch over their home, day and night. It was a practical solution born from a deep understanding of the natural world. And it was an act of faith. A belief that the earth itself could provide the protection they so desperately needed. But this was about more than just a bug repellent. There was a deeper belief at play. The act of planting that mint was like drawing a circle of protection around the home. A spiritual shield. It was an intentional act of saying, this space is safe. This space is ours. And the earth itself will help us guard it. The plant's unstoppable life force was seen as a kind of energy. A persistent, powerful presence that didn't just repel tiny creatures, but also stood against the feeling of being vulnerable in a vast, wild world. It was a declaration of strength. But it is the interesting part. When you look at what people experience with mint today, you find a fascinating twist. One gardener shared a story. They wanted to protect their brand new deck from carpenter bees, so they planted a border of mint, just like the old-timers. But it did the exact opposite of what they expected. Come Samir, the mint bloomed. And instead of keeping things away, it became a magnet for pollinators. They said their yard was filled with thousands and thousands of bees. It wasn't a keep-out sign at all. It was an invitation. So, was the old wisdom wrong? Not exactly. It just shows that the shield works in ways we might not expect. Another person told a completely different story. Their fight wasn't with bugs, but with ivy. A thick, aggressive addy that was climbing their house, getting into the siding, and literally damaging the foundation. So they planted spearmint. They unleashed it on purpose, in a fight to choke out the addy and protect their home. And that's when you see the true nature of the shield. Because the one thing everyone agrees on, from homesteaders to modern gardeners, is this. Mint is a survivor. It's aggressive. It's relentless. It doesn't just grow, it conquers. People who try to get rid of it will tell you, they've been pulling it up for years and know they'll never get it all. It has a will to live that is almost unmatched. And maybe that was the real spiritual lesson. Maybe the protection wasn't just in the scent. Maybe it was in the plant spirit. By planting it around their foundation, homesteaders weren't just creating a border. They were surrounding themselves with an example of pure, stubborn persistence. They were planting a living symbol of the very qualities they needed to survive. The mint was a constant, quiet reminder, be strong. Dig your roots deep. Don't give up. And no matter what tries to push you out, you hold your ground. You endure. But that kind of power, an unstoppable will to live, comes with a price. And this is the part of the story where we have to be honest. Planting mint is a gamble. It's often called the green dragon for a reason. Anyone who has planted it directly in the ground has a story to tell. You hear gardeners online warn people, whatever bed you put it in, the mint will take it over. One person said their sister's biggest gardening mistake was planting mint. Another compared it to bamboo, saying, my neighbor has bamboo, so now I have bamboo too. It's a battle you might be fighting for years. We heard from a homeowner who is still pulling up mint that the previous owner planted 3.5 years ago and they know they'll never get it all. So you have to ask, why would anyone take that risk? Why would these incredibly practical, careful homesteaders unleash this beast right next to the foundation of their home? Because it wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated risk. They knew exactly what they were dealing with, and they believed the reward was worth it. They understood that the very thing that makes mint a monster is also what makes it a guardian. It's migration. And they had ways of managing it. They weren't just tossing it in a field and hoping for the best. They used the landscape itself to control it. A narrow strip of dirt between the house and a stone walkway, for example. The mint can be contained. One person remembered it being planted around their childhood home, and it was kept in check with nothing more than normal mowing and cutting it back before winter. It was a partnership. The homesteaders gave the mint a job to do, and in return, they agreed to keep it within its boundaries. And sometimes, fighting a dragon is the only way to beat a bigger monster. We heard from someone whose house was being choked out by a thick, aggressive addy. The addy was destroying their siding, damaging the foundation. So they intentionally planted spearmint to fight it. They knew they were trading one problem for another. But they chose the problem they could live with. They chose the one that would protect their home instead of destroying it. The homesteaders weren't just planting an herb. They were choosing a partner in survival.